Welcome to Talking Sense. I'm Anis Podcast. I'm your host Azrin, and today we have a very cool guest from CapBay, Adam Areef, who is one of CapBay's relationship managers for business financing. On today's episode, we're going to talk more into the common challenges that SMEs face when securing financing and capital in Malaysia, as well as a bit on CapBay's Islamic financing offering as well. Adam, thank you for joining us today.
Hi Azrin. Thank you for having me here for this session. I'll start off by introducing myself. I'm Adam Areef. You can call me Adam or Areef as well. So basically, I'm a relationship manager in CapBay, similar as Suzy before. I'm a relationship manager who go out and look out for businesses for us to extend our financing solutions and financing facilities to all the SMEs across Malaysia.
Awesome, that's great to hear. Let's just get into a bit about yourself. What excites you about working with SMEs in Malaysia, and why is this market important to CapBay, you think?
Okay, talking about excitement, the nature itself. I'm a finance background guy, and I have always been invested in finance-related stuff. And yeah, once I've actually gotten on this job, on this role, I was responsible to look out for the SMEs, and little did I know that the SMEs market is really huge.
Mm-hmm.
From all the articles that I've read and that I have came across, almost 97% of the Malaysian economy, it's roughly from the SMEs,
right?
And considered in that manner, they're considered the backbone of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Without a doubt, that actually pushes me to strive further and find out for their businesses. And yeah, not necessarily that all these SMEs that come to us and actually apply for financing, they don't always come out successful, because there are certain requirements that they did not meet and etc. So, but still, with the vision and the energy that the company and myself has, we are, not to say raging, but we are more than excited to cater and tackle the huge market that is around in Malaysia.
SMEs is a major component of Malaysian economy, right?
Indeed.
It is the entrepreneurial spirit that Malaysians have.
Correct.
In terms of building all these SMEs. But given the wide market of SMEs, I'm assuming that you don't just accept any SME to join with us. There has to be due diligence. So in that sense, what kind of due diligence does CapBay perform before approving financing for an SME?
All right. So talking about due diligence processes, right? Of course, being a P2P company, we are not as strict as the traditional lenders around, like the banks and whatnot. We are a bit more lenient, we would say, as we are also regulated by Securities Commission, just for security. Yeah. One of the due diligence processes that we actually undertake is, of course, the financial analysis. Taking into account the company's financial statements, their cash flows and profitability as well. So that's one of it. And second one would absolutely have to be their credit history. Talking about credit history, of course, we are more than happy to finance companies that actually have a track repayment history. At least a track record rather than nothing at all. It serves as a confidence to the lenders as well, because at least we know their habits on their previous financing facilities and whatnot. So basically, I've talked about the financials, the credit history, and of course, the last but not least is the risk assessments and compliance checks. So we have to figure out the risk associated around the SMEs when they come up to us and get financing. We have to know what kind of work are you actually executing, relating it back to their financials, how consistent have they been with their revenues and a lot of aspects in the financials. So these are the risks and assessments, compliance checks that we actually carry out.
So these are the processes that you guys take in terms of in-depth due diligence.
Correct.
It is a big thing to get financing in all this.
It is, and because the volume is high, as I mentioned earlier, 97%,
exactly.
97%, man. So we need to be very careful and tedious when we actually attend all these SMEs. And as for the compliance checks, a lot of SMEs have gone to the banks or the traditional lenders, and they are very familiar.
process, yeah.
They are very familiar with what is actually required and needed for them to actually have their financing application approved. Yeah.
Just to switch it up a bit, because you're talking from the perspective of CapBay, but like from the perspective of the SME, in their shoes, what do you think are the common challenges that SME encounters while looking for financing? You've mentioned that traditional financing is the banks is what they've always done, right? But what were the challenges then, and what do you think are still the challenges that SMEs face in terms of seeking financing?
Their ineligibility of their creditworthiness, because they have limited credit history and also financial records. So this is a very common challenges that these enterprises or any businesses, any SMEs actually face. You know, I've faced multiple businesses that unfortunately are not able, because we have nothing to base on when we're actually processing their applications. And secondly, it's the complex application process. This is also a common one as well. You know, as there's so many compliances that need to be met. There's so much regulatory things that they have to be cleared off. And in my opinion, as while traditional banks, traditional lenders still remain popular, bank loans, etc. SMEs need to be aware of such alternative financing options like P2P or Fintech companies. I mean, I believe that the challenge that they face is also they lack a clear understanding of the possible financing options that are actually available right now. As opposed to what I've mentioned earlier of the bank loans, there's actually plenty other financing solutions that are actually out there, like CapBay and other Fintech companies as well. So, I mean, I think they have to focus on actually achieving more knowledge on all these financing options that are available. And secondly, with the help of P2P fintech companies, because we offer much more flexible and loosened requirements as compared to the traditional lenders.
Giving you more access for the businesses who really need it.
Correct.
It's like sometimes with traditional financial institutions, it is very hard for them to access this kind of financial support. One thing you mentioned about creditworthiness and the fact that a lot of companies have bad or poor financial records and limited credit history, is that something that's very common among businesses? Do you think this is just asking your personal opinion, what are the causes you think like for businesses not have this kind of like information ready? Because like you're a business, you would assume that this is part of your SOP to have that ready to ensure that, if I'm trying to grow my business, I need all this information, right?
Absolutely, Azran. I agree. I agree on your personal point of view, right? And as a person myself, I could probably understand why they face such challenges. The thing is, right, it's not that sometimes they don't execute this SOPs, as you say per se. It's rather the standards. Is it actually up to the standards that the lenders are expecting for you to have? And some, let's say for example, there's micros and there's also macros as well. I mean, in their sense, probably they are more focused on just, I just want to get the revenue. You know, sure. Other stuff, that's okay. It's okay.
Because like if you're like a seller on the site, so you're not really thinking about, I need to have my credit history ready.
Yeah, correct.
If I'm selling goreng pisang or something.
Yeah, and the focus actually jives more into what's the long-term vision of these businesses. If they do have that vision, have such vision, of course they would have to focus on such credit history and all this. Important aspects for you to actually have better financing and also better stability for your company.
Now, that's an interesting point, maybe, because I want to jump back to creditworthiness and its importance. How much should creditworthiness impact an SME's ability to secure loans or get credit? Because like it sounds to me that this is a major factor for businesses to consider. Yeah. Is it the only factor that they need to focus on?
Okay. Of course, not wholly, not completely, I would say, because there's a lot more aspects that we look into, all right? So the first thing I would say okay, how we look into it is actually more of like balancing risk and opportunity as well. We want to be able to see, okay, let's say for example there are other aspects that we look into. Okay, let's say for example this company does not have any credit history, there's no payment history that we can assess their habits from, but also at the same time there are other aspects that we can look into. Number one, their track records. I mean, how many jobs or works have they completed over the past years, ever since their inception? I mean, who were the clients that they have dealt with across the years? These are also one of the few aspects that we actually look into, besides the creditworthiness itself. And of course, adding on to that as well is of course the collateral. If maybe they do have any collateral within their organization, maybe the members, the family members, if they do have a collateral to provide, then of course we will definitely look into that, besides just creditworthiness.
Interestingly, you mentioned collateral. I do believe collateral plays a significant role when it comes to finance, accessing financing. But like, can you go more in depth? Can you like discuss the role of collateral and its significance in SME accessing finance?
Collateral, of course, it's a very important aspect in SME financing, because the thing is with collateral, it acts as a form of security for lenders, as we perceive it as a reduced risk. Okay, so by having such valuable collateral in their businesses, we are open to offer lower interest. They have that option, you know, because with the loan being backed by a valuable collateral, there are more favorable terms that can be met across the application. And secondly, with such collateral as well, they are also able to have a larger loan amounts and with a longer repayment tenure. So particularly collateral actually helps having larger loan amounts and of course lower interest rates as well, because it acts as a form of security. And also businesses who are wishing to expand their businesses, looking to invest on a long-term projects, are much more advised to actually apply financing with collateral.
I see. So it is an important aspect in terms of accessing finance.
Yeah.
But just to ask you something, what are the common collaterals that you've seen your client have approached you with? Like, what are the ones that's in your industry that you think are mostly common in terms of like collateral in, you know, getting finance? Like,
Yeah. Okay, if you're talking about collateral per se, one of it being a land, a shop plots, buildings, contracts even, we can look into that, assignment of receivables. So that acts as a collateral as well. And yeah, pretty much that. And there's plenty other collateral that can be placed into the picture.
I don't know if you can answer this, but what's the weirdest collateral you've received?
Weirdest collateral. I don't think there's any.
Oh, so we haven't crossed that bridge yet.
It's all really cool.
Okay, I'm expecting like a clown car or something.
No.
So our SMEs is not that crazy.
Yeah, of course.
But talking about SMEs, right? So far we're talking accessing financing from SMEs as a whole. If we were to go deeper into the personal history of personal credit score of business owners, does that play a role in accessing finance? Because I would assume a person's credit history is separate from the business itself, or is that interlinked?
Of course, it reflects positively. It is as important, honestly. But then, per se, from my experience, I have seen businesses that does not have any financing facilities, but due to their owners having such wonderful, brilliant credit history, we are still able to finance them. Because the reason behind it is because how we interpret it is that if the owner has a brilliant credit history or track record, that means that reflects to them having a well-managed financing on its own behalf, and also of how they run the business generally. So also moving on to that, of course we look into the personal guarantees, right? I mean, when we have successfully come up with the financing applications, the better the guarantors are, the more comfortable we are.
To work with them and
Of
provide
course,
the solutions.
of course.
If you were to compare that with traditional FIs, is that like something that they look as importantly, a person's credit history?
I mean, if you're asking me to answer on behalf of them,
Well, I mean, on your personal opinion.
on a personal opinion, I believe that it's something they do look into. But you know, traditional lenders are huge. I mean, they've been around for a really long time. So I don't think such tweak, I mean, such difference would be something that they would really focus into.
See, so
Yeah.
that's the difference between you guys as well. That you go beyond just the company's history. You go to the person itself,
Yeah.
and see their story as well.
Correct,
when
correct.
it comes to financing.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, there's so many things that we can interpret from the owner's, credit history itself. I mean, the financials as well. You know, let's say, for example, they have like 5 to 10 credit facilities, and it's all being on a prompt repayment conduct. Of course, I mean, you would be very comfortable to like, okay, how may I assist you? How may I finance?
So this is someone that you can actually trust in terms of
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to see like the story that you can tell from a person's credit history.
Yeah.
Just to switch a bit in terms of like managing cash flow for SMEs, like how do SMEs typically manage cash flow challenges?
Okay, talking about the cash flow challenges, right? I believe, based on my experience, what I believe is that that they would probably resort to internal funds.
That's interesting you say that
you know?
because you're talking personal credit history, and
Correct.
then you're talking like,
Yes.
people relying to personal funds. It's
Correct. Personal funds. I mean, that is if the businesses, the SMEs, are actually facing a very tight situation. Something that cannot be escaped. Maybe they would opt for that. Maybe they would opt for family members and whatnot. So basically, going back to how the challenges are being faced upon, I always go with the line "cash is king." You know,
That is very true.
yeah, cash is king. So if you look into a business perspective now, the statement of cash flows is very, very important. That's how we assess whether the company is having a good cash flow or not. So with that, invoice financing comes into the picture because it clearly boosts the businesses from actually getting late repayments from their clients. We in CapBay, we are able to actually finance. We're giving you an invoice financing in 1 to 2 days. So why worry of facing such extended payment terms when you can actually enjoy the money? I mean, the money and
The cash there.
Yeah, the cash itself or on the day itself.
That's actually an important aspect to think about when we think about the solution for them. So, Adam, we're going to focus more on the solution parts of CapBay. But before that, you did mention something that perked my interest. You mentioned about micro enterprises, right?
Yeah.
And typically, when we look at SME, we just look at the small, medium enterprises. So, I'm assuming that micro enterprises are slightly different beasts than SMEs, small and medium enterprises. So, my question to you is, what are the challenges that micro enterprises face that's different from the small and medium enterprises? And if you can, what kind of solutions needs to be done for them? Like, what kind of solutions are there specific solutions tailored for them?
Okay, you mentioned beast, yeah, and the micro SMEs. I mean, of course, they still contribute to the market as well. It's something that we often overlooked. And talking about, I mean, of course, there's a way of identifying how different the micro SMEs and the SMEs itself. So we can see it from the yearly revenues and on how the businesses are being managed overall, their operations and whatnot. So taking into example, I mean, of course, there are indeed specific tailored solutions to this kind of SME segments, in which, for example, I'll be taking MDEC, okay? MDEC's initiative, Malaysian Digital Economy Corporation's initiative on actually implementing the alternative credit scoring, ACS, in which we are looking into assessing their credit history, not through the traditional style, but rather we look into the borrower's information on their online purchasing history, mobile data payment, and etc. So in relate to CapBay itself, in which we almost identically adopted such approach through our KDEB waste management and also the lorry.com. So we were able to finance these vendors despite the vendors having mediocre creditworthiness and etc. And that's something that I have to credit to the partnerships that we have established over the years.
See, so it's not exactly a different approach. There is still a similar approach in how you deal with micro enterprises as well as you would with a small and medium enterprise.
Correct. There's always a way. I mean, on the financiers kind of side, of course, we are always looking into ways of how to finance. I mean, because if let's say this micro SMEs does not have any credit history, we can't just put an end there. We can't just put a full stop there, right? We got to find a way on.
You're digging more into
it. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's our responsibility. How I see it, we are being put in this place to actually not just look out for the ones that can be assessed. How about the ones that can't be assessed, right?
That's where you're serving the underserved.
Correct. So, like I say, I mean, the specific tailored solutions are maybe it's already there, and also at the same time, it's a work in progress.
Of course. There's always a work in progress, and there's always a way to improve.
Correct.
But just to pick your brain on this, in terms of micro enterprises, have you seen that much micro enterprises seeking out all this alternative financing? Or are you looking out for them specifically? Are they finding you guys?
They do look for us.
So they are aware of this alternative financing.
Yeah, but not many. You know, I mean, from the data that we have, I would say macros are just a small bit that actually come about. The others are like SMEs that are like actually have credit history and actually have a background that we can actually assess on them. Yeah.
If you were to put a crystal ball to it, do you think micro enterprises will be doing more of this alternative financing, like approaching for you guys?
I really, really hope so, man.
Oh, that's the key here, right? That's the reason we're doing this.
Yes, well. Absolutely.
So Adam, you actually mentioned something that we were talking earlier about SOPs in terms of like providing credit history and whatnot. I just want to ask you, like, in your opinion, what can SMEs do to improve their financial documentation and reporting practices to boost their chances for securing funding? Because I think that's a really important thing to have.
Absolutely.
And to know.
Absolutely. Talking about this financial documentations, it's one of the most important factors actually when you are actually conducting a business. How do I say it?
In a way that's not offensive.
Yeah. I'm trying to pick out the right words. But basically, you need to have a clear understanding that with financial, you have to uplift the standards of documentation and actually maintaining the accounts because it's super vital, because you can't be preparing all of these documents when you are actually struggling with your businesses because the traditional lenders require these documents. Alternative lenders as well, they prioritize these things as well. So, awareness is as important as the execution. I mean, for example, let's say the owner does now prepare the uplift the standards of documentation and the accounts, but at the same time, spread the awareness to the people of the company, and also ensure that this is a very important aspect in conducting a business.
So basically, you're telling me the initiative needs to come from the top.
Correct.
To really push that kind of procedure, that kind of standards.
Indeed.
And proper documentation.
Correct.
Because, again, it's my personal opinion, it feels like a lot of companies are not reaching that level, that standard in terms of like documentation and financial documentation.
Because at the end of the day, it does simplify and actually speeds up the process of getting financing with any alternative lenders or any lenders.
Yeah, exactly. You're helping each other at that point.
Correct.
Help me help you, basically.
Absolutely.
So we talked about how moving forward, businesses, SMEs, they need to increase their standards of documentation and whatnot. But just to pick your brain and your personal opinion on this, looking forward in the industry, like what innovation or trends in finance do you believe will benefit SMEs the most in overcoming their financing challenges?
For them to overcome challenges, we are relating it to the innovations and trends, right? As the world has rapidly transformed into adopting digitalization over the years, I truly believe that SMEs will benefit through, for what one example I would want to share is through the Fintech companies or platforms like CapBay, who actually can provide such more flexible funding and a quicker access to capital compared to the traditional lenders. Because the thing is, with companies like CapBay, we are increasingly filling the gap where traditional lenders fall short. So, there are still alternative financing lenders out there. I mean, specifically fintech companies that are actually, these are one of the few key examples of innovations and trends that we have throughout the day. And I truly believe more SMEs will actually benefit in securing financing with companies like us, because this trends represents a shift towards a more inclusive financial ecosystem.
That's interesting that you say that being more inclusive financial ecosystem, like bringing a lot of business access to all this. Another key aspect in inclusiveness is, I would say, Islamic financing, which is a part of what CapBay does as well. But we will get more into that after this. So, Adam, in this part, we want to talk a bit about Islamic financing, which CapBay also offers, which I'm not too familiar with. So, on this part, could you tell us a bit more about CapBay's Islamic financing? Because I did not know that you guys had it actually.
I know, actually, yeah, we've been doing this for quite a while. In fact, CapBay has also won multiple awards to be the Islamic Fintech company as well. Yeah. So besides the conventional finance products that we have, we do offer Shariah-compliant facilities, mainly to cater the Islamic market in Malaysia. And of course, we do have Mashraf, our Sharia advisor, who serves also as our Sharia advisor.
Oh, so you guys are really comprehensive in terms of like providing the Islamic financing solutions there, services there as well.
Absolutely.
But if we were to go to explain to the audiences, what are the core principles of Islamic finance that differentiate it from like conventional finance? Because I'm sure there's certain aspects that makes it different, right?
Yeah. Okay, if you want to talk about Islamic finance, mainly there are two things that I want to touch on. Number one is the prohibition of riba, interest, and secondly is the profit and risk sharing. So basically, in which our financing must not involve business activities that focuses towards the riba activities. Diving deeper into the list of Sharia non-compliant business activities would definitely fall towards, for example, prostitution, gambling, pornography, and also food items that are against the teachings of Islam. Yeah. So, and in another way to share is that in Islamic finance, we view money as a medium of exchange rather than just a commodity.
So there are certain aspects to Islamic financing that makes it separate from conventional financing that disallow certain things.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, I mean, the financing part, I mean, we would want to be able to finance the businesses that are not involved in any of these teachings that are against the Islamic teachings.
Of course. So you mentioned these key terms like riba, the concepts riba, gara, and mercer. Like, can you explain to audiences what those terms are and why are they prohibited?
So I'll start off with riba. Basically, riba with its direct translation means interest. So it is prohibited because it promotes wealth accumulation without any productive activity. Okay. As for gharar, gharar on the other hand means uncertainty or ambiguity. So any transaction that involves gharar would actually end up with any of the parties to face any unclear uncertainties. So these are the things that we have to avoid. And last but not least, basically gharar is very speculative. So, and as for the last one, maisir means gambling, in which you accumulate profit purely by chance or luck. So that is completely against the Islamic teachings.
So in terms of like financing, Islamic financing, these are the main 3 points that prohibits you from getting financing. in that
Yeah,
aspect.
absolutely. I mean,
So if I'm something that provides a gambling institution, not getting Islamic financing.
yeah, absolutely. We avoid from getting into those kind of businesses.
So I guess Genting is not coming.
But don't worry, we still have our conventional products as well.
Of course, there is the conventional product as well. Now, so in terms of like these Islamic finance products, could you elaborate more on what they are?
I mean, many people would probably require a lot of time to understand the Islamic terms.
It's not exactly the easiest to
Yeah,
comprehend.
absolutely. I mean, that's it's a whole new picture to this.
I mean, there's different glossaries and different terms to it as well, right?
Absolutely. But as I mentioned previously, I mean, riba is the interest, and these are one of the few terms. But the one that we're talking about currently right now is mudarabah, which means profit sharing. Musharakah is joint venture, and also murabaha, which means cost-based financing, cost plus financing. Yeah. So in CapBay particularly, our facilities are arranged, are being transacted in which we call as commodity murabaha via tawarruk. All right. So basically, this arrangement is under the Sharia mode of financing, basically, in which the costs and profit margin are actually being disclosed to the purchaser. So CapBay, as an agent, actually executes this commodity trading onto the platform. So basically, in layman's terms, murabah actually means the sale of an asset whereby the cost and the markup are being disclosed to the purchaser.
See, so there is that process there in terms of Islamic financing, which you guys can handle.
Which we do handle internally. So when we go out and then look for the clients, do you want it? I mean, of course, I mean, some are actually quite particular in which they only want Islamic or Sharia-compliant products.
In terms of the process and all this financing solution products itself, are how many those who are looking for Islamic financing are aware of this? Like, they need to go through all this process. They just simply say, "You do it for me. I don't want to think about it."
Honestly, it's because the processes are being undertaken by us. Okay, and as a P2P, it involves investor. So the investors would want to know as well. I mean, the businesses that we finance, is it towards the prohibited, or is it going to the halal ones? So we keep it on the surface as all the terms are being laid out on the legal documentations and whatnot. So the processes are actually being handled internally.
So how does Islamic finance serve SMEs? And what are the benefits of using Sharia-compliant financing for small businesses?
Clearly, it is an interest-free financing in which riba is prohibited. I mean, the financing structure revolves around profit and loss sharing models, you know. And secondly, the benefits of using Islamic financing would be the access to untapped markets. You know, because SMEs who utilizes Islamic financing products can actually attract more customers and investors who would want to prefer or support businesses that complies with these principles.
So it opens more doors to them if you go through the Islamic financing.
Absolutely. And last but not least, of course, by adopting the Islamic teachings behind this, mainly we look at into the long term. You know, it is much more ethical and can actually support the SMEs. You get the best of both worlds. You got to abide by the Islamic principles of Sharia.
So it does give you huge benefits in terms of like accessing more opportunities there, while also planning your company to become much more ethical in the long run.
Absolutely.
So Adam, we've talked about Islamic financing, we talked about the challenges of SMEs, the creditworthiness and what they need to do. Now's your time to shine and talk directly to SMEs. So before we wrap things up, what advice would you give to SMEs out there who are looking to secure financing but just don't know where to start?
All right, so it's a pleasure. I mean, now that we're already at the wrapping session, I want to conclude by telling all of you watching this podcast is that my advice would be to explore all the alternative financing options that are actually available. And at CapBay, we're always ready to support the processes and also the financing that you require for your expansion, for your business itself. And you know what? Don't forget to contact us early. And don't be too late, because you got to plan ahead to ensure that your cash flow is always steady.
And always make sure your creditworthiness is on, documentation is on point.
Start now.
That's important for you guys. That's
Indeed.
great to hear. And to just final thing to wrap things up. For our listeners, where can they find out more about CapBay?
All right, so don't forget to catch us on our website itself, www.capbay.com. And on top of that, there's also our socials. You can just search it up on your Facebook or Instagram. Just search CapBay, and you can reach us out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam, for coming
Thank
over.
you so much, Azrin.
It was nice.
It was really nice to chat with you.
And for you guys, if you enjoyed what we do, please, as always, share, like, subscribe, and and if you want to learn more about CapBay, check in the description. Thank you.
See you.